Well, we can cross live now to central Gaza and speak to the journalist Abubaker Abed, who lives there. Abubaker, thank you so much for joining us here on BBC News. Can you just tell me what the situation is like where you are?
Well, more pain, more horrifying scenes. That's the update, which is so usual here in the Gaza Strip. Yesterday, talking about Deir al-Balah, central Gaza, and Rafah, and also the north of Gaza. The places there have seen intensive bombardment, and unfortunately, yesterday's night was one of the roughest for people here in Deir al-Balah, as 4 people were killed, and also tens of injuries, and reached al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital here in Deir al-Balah, which is really getting out of function. Also in Rafah, in a variety of neighborhoods like al-Shabura and al-Junaina, hundreds of Palestinians were killed and wounded there by Israeli raids. And unfortunately, the war against Muslims continues, as a mosque in Deir al-Balah was destroyed just a few days ago. People's suffering continues, and, just lower fronts and decreasing cold temperatures continue to hit the land. Those who are displaced and in tents and unprotected shelters, who are at this time not provided with anything, not provided with food and water. So the situation is really, really dire.
Abubaker, sorry to interrupt you. We're just watching pictures of food being handed out, families, young children queuing up for food. Just tell us about the reality of how you get food, how you get medicine, how you get supplies.
How can I really get food if food is so scarce? And how can I get water if water is polluted? And how can I get medications if they are so scarce at the same time? We're talking about that, food aid doesn't reach us very regularly, and aid trucks getting in the land, getting in the territory are really not enough for people. So just to try to get some food, just to try to get some water every single day is an adventure. And even when you go out just to try to seek out those things is a really, really big risk in your life. So it's all about that you can't really find anything, and you can't really find enough food and enough water for those people, because you're talking about more than 1.9 million displaced in Rafah, more than 500,000 displaced in Deir al-Balah. So the food available, the water available are absolutely not enough. And unfortunately, the diseases that are spreading right now are because, or are due to, the continuous lack of food and water, the pollution that has been spreading, the weather conditions that have been killing people. So all conditions right now against us, and that people can't really, are really fighting for their existence, and they really, really, really can't find anything to do with this war, because our dreams are very simple. What we want is a permanent ceasefire where we can have a clean water and some fresh food. That's our dream. So it's just like, I don't know why people think that Palestinians shouldn't have just one day of tranquility and peace, because politicians think it's too much. But I don't know why the cost of being a Palestinian is too much, but I'm always and will always be proud to be a Palestinian.
How possible is it to keep across what's going on in the outside world, if you like? How aware are people of the diplomatic negotiations that are going on at the moment? The recent visit of the US Secretary of State, the negotiations that are carrying on today in Egypt, between Egypt and Qatar. How aware are people of that?
They were really celebrating the first time when the initial talks were held. They were really very happy. They went in marches to celebrate the news of this agreement, and that they still hope, they're still seeking out a glimmer of hope to see that this war will end, because 125 days, more than 125 days even, are too much on people, because they have been suffering a lot. They have seen horror, they have seen terrors, and every day what they see is truly unbearable. So they're still watching very closely during the dark nights and dangerous nights on TV news, wherever it is, the news coming out. They're trying to see some hope that there will be a ceasefire agreement reached very soon. They're just watching the news because people have really bled enough, and even the reality of existence inside Gaza is truly heartbreaking. So they are trying their very best. They're hoping that a ceasefire agreement will be reached very soon. They hope that the negotiations will be given very successfully, and that they can have just one day of tranquility and one day back before October 7th, the normal life they were having.
The latest from the Israeli military is that the focus of their focus will move to the south and to Rafah. We're just hearing the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that pushing on the border with Rafah would increase what is already a humanitarian nightmare with untold consequences. What would that mean if those forces moved towards Rafah?
Well, I think they have no place to go for. They have no shelters to go for. Even the tents they are trying to seek as refuge, it is in fact sold. They are in fact being sold. So this is the bitter fact of finding existence in Gaza. So if these forces move to Rafah, you're talking about, as I've told you, more than 1.9 million displaced in those areas. So where can they move? If they move to Deir al-Balah, the normal capacity of Deir al-Balah is just accommodating around 25,000 people. Now in Deir al-Balah, more than 500,000 displaced and seeking refuge. If this happens, where can this 1.9 million people displaced can find refuge, can find shelter? Even the places here in the Gaza Strip are not safe. Not a single zone is safe in this Gaza Strip. So I'm just wondering if these forces move where they can. Probably they will see, and even the prices at the border to escape from this hell in the Gaza Strip to go past the border, the Egyptian borders, costs too much. That's why we are really paying too much money, really paying unaffordable sums to just live, to just stay alive. In fact, families eat strategically just to stay alive. And in fact, also, the reality here in Rafah, the continuous bombing of people, the continuous bombing of civilian houses is so terrifying. So it's not just about that the situation will become more deteriorating if the Israeli occupation forces will go in, because it is in fact deteriorating. It's really going worse, more than people can think. So it's just really indescribable.
Abubaker Abed in central Gaza, thank you so much. It's important to hear voices like yours and to hear your experience of what you're living with at the moment. Thank you to you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News.